Hello and welcome to another edition of CSC Chat. I am your host, Justin Johnson. Joining me today is none other than Trista Topil, who is a student in Chadron State College's theater program, majoring in performing and directing, with an intended graduation day of spring 2026. Trista, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
First question we have for you today is, how did you become a theater sound designer?
It's kind of a funny story. My freshman year, we had a show where all of our upperclassmen were performing in the show, and so nobody was able to design the show. So I kind of was thrown into it. But that was like the easiest show that I've done because I was handed everything to it, and so I just kept getting better and better at it from there and just volunteering for it.
Okay, thank you. How many shows have you designed thus far?
So far, I've designed 7 shows since my freshman year, and I'm currently working on my 8th show.
Why is your job as a sound designer important in theater?
So for theater, sound design is really important because it's one of the first things that the audience experiences, like when they first enter the black box or the auditorium, because you have to kind of set the tone of the show with the music that you're using or the sound effects that you start out the show with, because without that you can't really immerse yourself into the show before it starts.
We are chatting with Trista Topil here on this edition of CSC Chat. Continuing on, what is your creative process when designing a show?
So when designing a show, I like to go through and read the show at least 2 or 3 times so I can better understand it and get to know the feel of the show. And I'll go through and I'll mark off all the written sound effects that are written in the script, and I'll find those, I'll pull them off the internet like YouTube or something, and I'll create a file, I'll share that with our director, and we'll talk back and forth about what sound effects works, what doesn't work, what needs to be changed, and from there I'll move everything into our program, and I'll I'll organize everything from the start of the show to the end of the show, and that's basically it. And I kind of work with everybody to kind of make sure everything fits together.
How many different things go into it?
It's a lot of different things, and depending on the show, I could have 10 cues or I could have 20 cues. I think the biggest show that I've done had around 30 cues, and that was, I want to say it was for Little Shop. I don't remember.
Okay, what is the most challenging aspect of sound design?
I think the most challenging aspect of sound design is finding the right music to go with a show, with any show, because that's the first thing that you're introduced to. You have to really set the tone for any audience member that's coming in to watch it. The pre-show music that we pick is by far the most important thing and the most challenging thing, because you have to read the script, find the tone of it and the underlying themes of a show, and it's the most challenging, but it's also the most fun for me.
What has been your favorite show to design?
So I think my favorite show that I've designed, we just did the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged last February, and that was really fun. That was the first comedy show that I've gotten to design, and I had the most fun pulling sounds and working with other people to make it the best that it could be. But I've also been enjoying the current show I'm working on, The Revolutionist. It's just been really nice having 2 different tones. It's to go from a comedy to a comedy drama type deal.
Have you ever had to completely scrap an idea as you're nearing the end of it?
Early on in my designage of this show, I had pulled a bunch of music, which I have said is the hardest thing to do. I pulled a bunch that I thought was really great, that was really working with it, and I sent it to the director, and he's like, a lot of these don't fit. You need to go find more music. And it's okay, I understand that, and I went and I found more, and he liked the stuff that I picked. So it's just like a give and take, and like you just have to kind of roll with what doesn't work and find what does.
Okay. Thank you, Trista.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of CSC Chat. People in Chadron in particular, and the world in general, I thank you for your viewership and encourage you to join us next time for another exciting episode of CSC Chat.